right, this may not have been the best idea. Trying to pretend like the water falling from the sky is just the snow melting out of the trees. Okay, this is ridiculous. But I guess I'm getting ahead of myself. So let me backtrack a little bit and catch you guys up. I was perusing Onyx last night, trying to find a place to go camping in the next couple of weeks. You know, it's the shoulder season. Yes, there's snow on the ground, but it also warms up to the mid-50s during the daytime and barely drops below freezing at night. So it's still a good time to get out on the trail, as long as you bring the right equipment. While I was searching, I came across a lake out in the middle of nowhere called Forest Lake. Couldn't find any information on it. There's no trail reports, and it didn't actually show any trails marking access to the lake. So I went onto the Washington Trails Association website, which is awesome, absolutely awesome. If you haven't checked it out, I would highly recommend you do so. But again, then I searched up Forest Lake near North Peak Wilderness. And there are lakes called Forest Lake, but they're on the other side of Rainier. So again, no information about this trail at all. So then I turned to Google. Google shows me a couple of closed forestry roads, and I think, maybe I'll go for a drive. So I headed out today, early afternoon, drove up near the Greenwater Lakes trailhead, which is one of my favorite areas to explore. And I turned off onto a different Forestry Service road that I've never been on before. And I'm looking on the offline map that I saved on Onyx so I can kind of follow my path in. That forestry road led to another forestry road, which led to a sign telling me that I was entering a burned forest area, which I don't see any signs of a burned forest. But anyways, fast forward a couple of miles, and the road gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And I started thinking back to about a month ago when I went off-road adventuring and got myself stuck in a pretty unfortunate predicament. And quite honestly, I've been a little skittish ever since then. So when the road got too narrow and I knew that I wasn't going to be able to turn around, I backed out about a half a mile onto the main forestry road that I started on, parked my truck, and fast forward, here I am. I'm now hiking in on what's actually a pretty decent forestry road. A little too overgrown for my truck to fit through here without some scratches. And certainly no shoulder or places to turn around. So I'm glad I didn't try and drive in, because this would be a miserable back out. Okay, justification in my decision to park the truck and walk in. This washout here on the road, no way my truck could have got past this. And that means I would have had over a mile to back out. Talk about a miserable pucker factor for a mile. So our rain has turned to a mixed rain and snow combination. I guess it's getting a little colder than I had originally anticipated. Of course, I haven't put my gloves in my adventure kit yet, so good thing I have pockets. Okay, this is ridiculous. I was smelling smoke, and I mean, there is an active wildfire still, miles away, but sometimes you get the smell of smoke. But look at what I found. We've got a small campfire still burning from whoever decided to camp out here. See no signs of people. Obviously, this is an area that's a well-used campsite. There's this fire pit here. It's a main fire pit right here, and somebody even drug a car seat, like a seat from a car, to sit here and look at the view of the lake. But I haven't seen anybody out here today, and there's still a fire burning. So it's bad enough that they've got their trash out here, which I've got a trash bag, so we'll be able to pick that up, but it's also a fire going. And I'm gonna guess somebody camped here last night and must have headed out a couple of hours ago, but it's still smoldering. Anytime you are using a fire in the backcountry, you've got to make sure it is cool to the touch and completely out before it's safe to leave the site. So we're gonna separate this out a little bit, hike down to the lake, see if there's anything to look at, and then before we head out today, I'll make sure that this is nice and fully extinguished and cooled down. But God, this is just dangerous. I don't care if everything is wet. You never know when this could lead to another spark, which could lead to yet another fire. I'll give you one guess what that was used for. Clever, but disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And right beside their camp too. I tell you, sometimes you almost lose faith in the human race. And I have to remind myself that there are a lot of fantastic, responsible people out there too. Hopefully there's enough to make up for the disgusting ones. Okay, this is cool. This is really cool. It almost makes up for the idiots in their campsite up on the hill. I'm going to see if I can get around to the other side of the lake. It looks like there's maybe an animal trail or maybe a person trail, and we'll see if there's any campsites on the other side too, because this is a great candidate for the camp out. It's only a couple mile walk. The road isn't too bad as long as we don't get, a foot of snow in the next week. Because even with a decent road, I don't know that I want to brave putting chains on and being this far out in the middle of nowhere if something goes wrong. But yeah, this is really cool. All right, so we've got the luxury of a tree that fell, but still got a little access to this trail. This looks to be more of an animal trail than a human trail, but that's all right. This may not have been the best idea. Ah! Okay, so I think this is as far as we're gonna get. I'm in a little bit of a clearing. This is very much a spot where the animals are kind of fighting their way through a trail to get down to the lake for water. Maybe in the summertime I could push through a little bit farther, but as you can see, the snow is really starting to fall. Remember when I said earlier, a chance of rain today? Well, this is what happens when you get over 6,000 feet. That rain becomes something very different. I can see a spot on the back corner there where it looks like there might be another spot where you could set up a campsite. But again, that's going to be a summertime. That's certainly not for this weather. Okay, so I've dumped 3 bottles of water on this fire, and it is still trying to cling to life. I think I've got it almost out, but I'm going to run down and grab another bottle just in case. Put it over here. I've picked up all the trash, but with how heavy the snow is starting to get, I think I'm going to skip making that cup of coffee and afternoon lunch, and I'm going to just clean up here, and then I'm going to hit the trail and get back down to my truck and get down off the mountain before the snow gets any more severe. All in all, this is a cool lake, and I definitely need to come back here in probably the spring or summertime when I can explore without getting soaking wet in the process. Am I going to camp here next week? I don't think so. With how hard it's already starting to snow, I think that 6,000 foot level is probably a little bit higher than optimum for this coming week's camping trip. But don't worry, I'll find somewhere for us, and we'll have another adventure here in a few days. So until next time, folks, that's it for me. I hope to see you out there on the trail soon. Let's go for a walk.